Hey there, welcome to Hop's Metal Show. Wes, String, and Hop here, and we've got Gene Barnett. So Hop, String, do you want to take it away, introduce Gene, and get the party started?
Go ahead, String.
All right. Well, Gene, thank you for coming on with us and hanging out with us today. It's a great honor. We love Dirty Lux and been a big fans for many, many years. And for most folks, I don't know. I mean, for Hop and I, we've listened to you guys for years. Most of our audience, I think, is pretty familiar with you guys. And wow, I'm just excited to be here and being able to talk about Cool from the Wire. That's the main thing we wanted to talk about today. So thank you for being with us and hanging out with us tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's good to be here.
All right, so let's I guess we'll just start out like how you got started in with Dirty Lux, and because the band had been around for a few years before you had joined, correct?
Yeah, I think about like the third incarnation of Dirty Lux. It started out, so I did watch a show when you were going through Ruby and you were talking about the history of the band a little bit. And so there was a few inaccuracies. So Henrik started in Erie and then took it out to California and then came back east and then put, I don't know whether it was the third or fourth version when he hooked up with Jack and started back up on the East Coast. And that's when I came in after, I think I was possibly the third or fourth drummer at that point. There's been a lot of drummers in this band.
Yeah, we had talked the other night about, we was looking up on the internet and just scroll through, and there's like there's very high number of people just in the band altogether. So it was I could see where the confusion can kind of start to generate when you're trying to go through and sort out who was who in the band at what times.
Yeah, it could be a head spinning kind of undertaking to make that, figure out all that, the lineage. And
so looks like you were there. I guess your first album was Cool from the Wire. Was you involved with the writing process and any of that?
So actually, my first album was called I Want More. And so when Henrik came back and hooked up with Jack, they did In Your Face. And so I came in on when In Your Face was out for about, I guess, like a year or so. And so then we were touring on that. And I guess I was in the band for maybe like 6 to 8 months. And we had gotten a label, a French label, to put out an album, and that was called I Want More. And so it had a really crazy album cover with, it looked like a Vulcan on a beach after a nuclear blast. It was really weird. We didn't have any artistic control, but we went up to Erie to record, and it sounded really good, and the songs were pretty cool, but the songs on I Want More, they were already done, and so I didn't have anything to do with that. And but I had a little bit to do with the ones that we had on I Want More and the newer ones on Cool from the Wire. But mostly Cool from the Wire was about 80% finished. and just kept being replayed over the years.
Gotcha. So you say you part of that was done, and did you kind of help write some of the other songs that weren't quite finished or that weren't written at all then at that point?
Yeah, I'm kind of brain farting on which ones weren't, but for the most part, we can say that Cool from the Wire was like 80% already done, previously recorded, and it was very road tested. So by the time we got to recording Cool from the Wire, we had played all those songs for so long, and they were super tight, and we were just ready to go and that. But so yeah, I came in writing wise at the end, like right before I Want More came out, and even on that album, there was probably about half of that was already finished as well, and that was on I Want More. Some of the songs were probably on some previous versions of Henrik's Dirty Looks albums before, like the pre-Jack era. And yeah, so I think half of that was new, and some of those songs didn't end up on Cool from the Wire either. And I think one or two maybe ended up in a different form with different titles. But it's a cool episode to get the chance to listen to it.
Oh yeah, I'll have to go back and look that one up because I think there was like two. Let's see, I think there was two full lengths and maybe an EP that came out, I guess, before Cool from the Wire, and I didn't really know about those until I started researching a little bit more. But because I was kind of a late bloomer when I met Hopper back years and years and years ago, he's the one that kind of got me more into the Dirty Looks. I didn't have a whole lot of exposure to like MTV and that sort of stuff. So for me, it wasn't until I met certain friends that were into the metal scene and had those albums and was able to, hey, check this out, go listen to this. And that's kind of where it hit me. Of course, the internet wasn't, at all a thing back then. So kind of searching that stuff up was a little bit more harder unless somebody had it. And, it was a little difficult. So, but yeah, definitely have to check those out.
Like, depended on how cool your friends were. The music that
hey.
Like,
so, Gene, I'm younger than everybody that I ran with. I know I don't look it anymore, but and that was the blessing I had, is I had some really cool friends that turned me on to some really good music, hop and string. And one of Pop and I's old roommates named Mike that played drums also in a band. I remember where I was at when he said, "Man, you need to get this." It was in the wrapper, Cool from the Wire, in the late 90s, and that shit, it turned me upside down.
Cool, glad to hear that. Yeah, it also, I guess it depended on how good the record store was near your house too. Because when I was a goofy little kid, I had 3 paper routes, and I blew all of my paper route money on every cool metal import and I luckily I was near a phenomenal record store that got every single great import, and I had all of them.
That's cool. We had a local shop that had it was more used, but he was able to get some imports, and he had some new stuff coming in all the time too. But that was like the one place that that I went to, and it was because of the Hopper that kind of got me into that store that I was able to find all kinds of cool stuff. And if he didn't have it, he was probably able to get it. He was able to order it or whatever. So it's good to have those options, like you said.
Yep.
When y'all come on the scene on the East Coast, we're us are huge Kicks fans. I mean, did you have a chance to play with them guys, get to know them guys, or were y'all on the scene at the same time?
Well, I'm from Baltimore, so I met them a bunch. And when I was getting into the scene, Kicks, I think they were called either the Jesters or the Shoes. And I saw Kicks in both of those. I saw them when they were the Generators and the Shoes. And then so when I started playing out, my bands that I was in got to open for Kicks. So I was in the Baltimore band, Strong Arm, and so we played all the same venues that Kicks did, and we got to open for them a handful of times, or probably a bunch of times.
That's awesome.
Did some shows with Kicks.
Awesome, yeah. So you're familiar with the Hammerjacks then?
Yeah. And when I was that was definitely my second home.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I
Oh.
was never able to go there and see a show there, but I guess they've resurrected it and it's a new location. But
Now, where do you live?
we're in Virginia.
Oh, everybody is?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What part?
Down close to Harrisonburg,
Okay.
but close to where James Madison University is like the big thing around for us.
Okay. So yeah, they tried really, really hard to resurrect Hammerjacks. Yeah, probably for like the past, I lost count. It's been so many years. Probably like the past maybe, let's say 10 years, and so it's not. It probably will never happen in a brick and mortar form, like actual Hammerjacks. So I've seen them. I guess they like do tailgate parties, and they have like an outdoor, kind of like an outdoor venue that they bring back. But now it has not been reestablished as the concert venue like it used to be.
Yeah,
Because we were all waiting and hoping and praying that was going to happen, but it doesn't look like it is.
I always thought of this
documentary coming out pretty soon about it.
Oh, wow, cool.
I always thought it was like the East Coast version of the Cat House.
It was probably one of the best, most like favorite venues that touring bands could hit, because the production was amazing, the people that worked there were amazing. It was like they really took care of you. They really cared about the bands, and
Cool.
I mean, when you played, it was like a little concert hall. It was like it was a little concert hall. It was like an arena. It had every aspect of playing in an arena, but it was just shrunken down a little bit. Down to like a 2,000, I guess, capacity venue, and
Wow.
so you definitely, when you rolled into that place, it wasn't like you were crammed. You had a real stage with real PAs and real lighting and real people dealing with the production. Not that you didn't have that everywhere else, but at Hammerjacks it just seemed to be a little bit cooler. Mm-hmm. And I mean, people like Iron Maiden loved Hammerjacks, and a lot of the touring bands, like you would see Rob Halford there, and I mean the Ramones played there all the time. So I was probably there definitely every time the Ramones were there. And but you would see Accept there, and Ozzy, and Kiss, and Queensryche, and it was a great place to hang out, and it was a great place to play because they treated you good.
Yeah,
that's always good.
And that makes for a great experience for the bands.
I'm sorry, what?
I was going to say that makes a great experience for the fans and the bands. When things go so smoothly and just the outcome is just perfect. I guess for the most part. I mean, you got the bands getting taken care of, and the fans are appreciating the bands being there and getting taken care of at the same time. And yeah, it's just that we had a place in up in West Springfield, Virginia, that it was a little small place. I don't know if you ever heard of it, called Jack's.
Oh, I love Jack's. Yeah.
Yeah, we loved going up there. I mean, it was a little hike of a drive for us, but we always enjoy going there because, the owner, Jay, he always took care of the bands. And I think the bands would, it might be a little bit smaller of a venue than what they would normally like to play at. But I guess because he took so good of care of the bands that's why they were able to get those bands back in there and play all the time.
Yep, I love that place too. Yeah, it wasn't really that small. That was another great sized room. And, it was like another really good concert hall type venue. And is it still there?
No, Jay ended up, he really tried hard to find somebody to take it over and kind of be his replacement. But I think he had a hard time finding what he was actually looking for. And I guess he just gave up and then kind of sold it to whoever was next in line, I guess. And it was opened as the Empire Club for maybe a year or two. And then I guess they folded and just gave it up. So I don't even know what's in that building anymore.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah.
Jay actually plays around here. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure where he lives as close to us, but yeah, he's got the band Road Ducks. I know they've done some local shows.
Oh yeah. That's cool. They're still playing.
Yeah. So let's get back on track here, I guess. You had Max Norman had produced the album, and he had done such great stuff with Ozzy and Sabotage and Armored Saint and Y&T and some of the other bands. So what was it like working with him in this whole process?
That was mind-blowingly cool because, I mean, obviously, I loved Ozzy, and those albums were, I mean, they were everybody's favorite albums at that time. And so it was already cool enough getting signed with Atlantic Records. And then when you hear talk of producers getting thrown around, and then the decision was that Max was going to do it, your head would explode. And so that was, it was like dream come true after dream come true after dream come true. Like things were just really happening. And having a legend like him that was at the helm of other legends' albums, and I say this all the time, like I'm somebody that I was really into guitar players, and so I guess I'm a really frustrated guitar player. So obviously Randy Rhoads was my favorite guitar player, and for him to produce Randy Rhoads, and so I was. I'm sure I was an obnoxious little geek boy in the studio. Like,
I'm still there.
And so, he probably tolerated that to the best of his ability. But, if you're around somebody like that, you can't not bother the hell out of them by asking all kinds of that because, I was basically, I was this green. I was 21, so I wasn't really a little kid, but I was still green. I didn't know a lot about the industry. I've never been totally screwed out of everything at that point yet. Like everything was still like puppies and rainbows and before the stuff and the business and all that crap. But it was the coolest thing in the world having, because we'd get up in the morning and like he'd wake me up. And so we'd walk down the studio, everybody else would be sleeping. And we would literally sit there, like he would hang out with me for, an hour or two in the morning. I would tune the kit and play a bunch and he'd listen. And we'd kind of like home in on certain parts of the kit that we would just make sound better. And then once that was good, then the band came and then we recorded rhythm tracks. So I just was just a brand new, fresh sponge, just waiting just to like have all kinds of new knowledge and inspiration and whatever. Like he could have told me to do all kinds of stupid stuff and I would have done whatever he said. I was just there to learn. And I did, so I spent all of my time watching every single thing that he did because I was in awe of the entire situation. Here I was, a goofy little kid playing Baltimore cover bands since I was like 13 years old. The first time I started playing out. And then here I was fortunate enough to be in the offices of Atlantic Records, looking at meeting people that were like the A&R men of lots of spectacular albums, and then like the owners of the label, and I'm just sitting there just meeting all of these people that were a part of music history, not just rock but jazz, and I was a little jazz nerd when I was a kid too, so I would just suck in all of this, just endless high volumes of like whatever I could cram into my head and just learn. And so it was just it was amazing. It was a dream come true. And it was just, it was all that I wanted and hoped for and more, because I learned a lot. And, I paid attention and, I made friends with everybody at the label. I made friends with everybody at the studio. And so I was just like this, happy little puppy dog just running around, just fucking it all in.
Yeah. So how was that? So I guess once, because he did 5 Easy Pieces too, correct?
He did what?
He also did 5 Easy Pieces.
Yes, he did.
So was that? Oh, I was thinking you was on that album.
I did the tour.
Okay.
I don't know how I don't know what happened to the drummer, but Henrik called, and it took a lot of arm twisting to get me to come back and do another tour, you know, with that guy. But I did it, and but yeah, Max came back for that. We were almost going to record some other albums around from 2007 on. And so it would have been nice if Max would have came. Well, it would have been nice if we would have been able to record them in the first place. But I was, again, out just because. And then, so I don't know who produced like Super Deluxe or Gasoline, but I don't think it was Max. It probably was just like Henrik and an engineer.
Gotcha. I was kind of curious at how that changed when you got your second attempt with him, but I guess I was mistaken on that one. So
sorry.
That's okay.
Now, how much stuff did Max bring to the songs? Really, as I guess he's a producer.
Well, he didn't really have to bring that much, but he did. He made a few changes, like I said before, all the songs we've been playing for the past couple of years, and they were really tight because we played a lot. We were really we constantly were playing, and so the funny thing that Max did is we rented out a venue in Pennsylvania and did pre-production there, and Max had like a teacher's table set up on stage with us, and so it was kind of like he was our professor, and we just played through all the songs, and if there was something that he could make better, he would like stop us and he'd say, why don't you do this there, or why don't we change the middle eight, or why don't you extend that, or so he made all of the songs just a little bit cooler and a little bit better. Like he put his producer magic dust on everything. And there wasn't that many changes, but he did make he made things just flow better. And like if something was a little chunky, he would make it so it was just a better change and a better transition. And so he definitely pushed like Paul doesn't get, I don't think Paul gets the credit that he deserves for how well crafted his lead breaks are on that album. But I think maybe the pressure of having Max Norman record you made Paul just like constantly, endlessly practice and work on his guitar parts. Like he would do, like every time I saw him, he was playing guitar, like the whole time. And it shows in his leads. His leads are like very, very well crafted leads on that album. I mean, I'd put him up against anybody. I mean, if you just listen to those, and I mean, they were great. They were very, very well thought out, very well composed. And I think Max had a lot to do with that. Because, I mean, if I was a guitar player and Max was the producer, I'd be crapping my pants all the time. Like,
yeah.
Look at his experience and look at who he recorded. And just, if you only look at Randy Rhoads, then that's enough right there. I mean, because the guy, you're all playing my guitar parts for the guy that recorded Randy Rhoads. And it's, so, I mean, what are you going to say? That's like if I had that experience later when I did Poetic Justice with Lillian Axe. Our producer was a guy named Leif Mesos, and he recorded Jeff Beck's Guitar Shop with Terry Bozzio. And so, I mean, I was like, you recorded Terry Bozzio? Like, and so then I turned into Geek Boy again because, you know, Terry best things that came along to the drum kit out of, just about everybody, because, spectacular. So I know for a fact that I really got on his nerves with my endless line of Terry questions. And I'm like, you're going to make my drums as prominent as you did Terry's on the Guitar Shop. He's like, make your drums very, very prominent. And I made sure he did, because I came to Mixdown every day. And there's a picture of me in my photo album with a bat next to Leif going, yeah, I think you need to turn that 6-inch bell symbol up a little bit, because I can't really hear it. So
That's awesome.
I'll leave it at that.
It definitely sounds like you had some good experiences with producers then.
I love producers. Yeah. And so, like I said, I would cram every little bit of information into my head as far as production goes. I think it's really important for bands to do that, because it enables you, number one, it makes you a better writer and a better arranger, and it makes you a better producer. So when you go into record anything, it's good to have ideas, because if you don't, you're at the mercy of a producer, and that can end up being pretty bad for you, because you could make your sessions, your albums, your everything better just by being on. Flick your switch on and absorb everything that you are able to experience. And a lot of people, I've met a lot of people through my career playing, and I was always kind of shocked and amazed how not everybody does that. Like, a lot of people, they don't care about those certain aspects of learning things, and that just boggled my mind. I'm like, so I would always see people like, just, oh, my parts are done, I'm going to leave, and I'd be like, you're leaving? And you're like, why are you leaving? There's things to learn here, and some people just don't care, and some people like to party, and I like to party too. But if there was learning to be had, like, partying comes later. It's like, I have to fill my brain, and so yeah, I love producers. The only drag is I'm not so big on engineering, so I could be a really good producer, and I could have like tons more output, but it's like the engineering part. I'm trying to get over that hurdle and force myself to become a better engineer.
You see a lot more bands. Well, I see a handful of bands that I keep up with that have kind of gone into that route where they're doing a lot of their recording on their own and self-producing, and they send it off to somebody else to kind of mix it or whatever. But you do see that a lot more in bands now that are putting stuff out, that they want full everything that they can within what they're putting out there. And it's like you said, it's people that studied with these other producers or what, engineers or whatever along those paths, previously in previous recordings or whatnot. So it's good that you're accepting to learn and wanting to, get that drive in for future recordings or whatever. You never know what the future brings. So anything that you can retain in for that it's a bonus.
Absolutely.
I was wondering this, like, I guess when we've done the reaction video, Ruby, we got talking down there where we record at. Was there actually an old Ruby? Was there actually wrote about a girl named Ruby that come and watch y'all play?
No. I'm thinking, anybody that kind of looked like a Ruby, I would kind of dub them Ruby of the Day. But Ruby was written before me, so I don't know if there was an actual story about a real Ruby, but I've created a few of my own Rubies throughout the years.
I'm sure we all have at some point or somewhere along the lines in our lives.
Now I know you commented on the video shoot for that. Was that how long was that project and whereabouts did it happen and all that?
Video?
Yeah.
We actually did that that was filmed at Studio 54, of all places.
Wow.
The infamous Studio 54.
Yeah.
Videos take videos can take a long time, but that was just a live band on stage video. So it probably was maybe about 3 or 4 hours of shooting, and they just cranked up the music and we just played along to it. And so, oh yeah, we had a couple. It was cold and windy in New York City, so we had to go around to a few different locations to take some still pictures. And that horrible shot at the end of the video where it's just us on the street of New York, and we all look so unbelievably irritated because it's like, can we be done? Like, what us standing out in the wind, freezing our asses off? What is this adding to the video? Nothing. You could have showed more good shots of Ruby, and they just hanging out.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
So that end,
could have been better than just less
we have 2 questions that popped up from the Facebook feed asking about why was there never a video released for No Brains Child or Tokyo?
Ask Atlantic Records.
Fair enough.
Would have been nice.
And
Yeah.
I mean, back to what Chris was saying and where you guys were talking about producers, and I think that's the biggest change from that era to now is how much more readily available that technology is, and you can say, "Screw you guys, we're gonna do it."
Yeah, back then you couldn't say "screw you guys, we're going to do anything" because, they actually wanted to do a video for "Can't Take My Eyes Off of You," and some people seem to think that if we would have gone that route, we would have ended up being a lot more popular than by going with a heavier song like Ruby, because back then and pretty much whenever, even now, the song with the better hook is going to do better. And so there was just some issues with maybe that song not being like heavy enough or whatever the reason. We decided to go with Ruby instead of Eyes, and that could have been a mistake.
I can't see not releasing old Ruby. That's a classic. That's one of the best songs ever.
It would have been a better second or third video. I'm not so sure making it the first video was the right way to go, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Then they were signing so many bands, and you only had a certain amount of videos were really expensive. I still have the contract and all of the line by line expenses for the Ruby and Nobody Rides for Free videos, because I collect stuff like that.
That's cool though.
Those videos, they cost a lot of money to make, and it's ridiculous and it's stupid to spend that much money making videos. Like, we did Ruby in a venue on stage doing what we do. We're a rock band. We made a rock video in a rock band live setting. We could have done that at any of our gigs, and we could have recorded a whole concert, and we could have put out 10 videos for free. But we didn't have management that was thinking like that at that point, and that's unfortunate, because we could have said screw MTV, since we only are allowed one video per album unless something takes off, and then you get as many videos as your stuff keeps taking off. But we could have put out at that time our own VHS tape, a show like we just did last year at the Sealands Grove Speedway show that we did. we should have done that, and we could have bootlegged that. You can't really bootleg that when you're on Atlantic Records, but it's just a drag that Atlantic Records didn't have the wherewithal to say, hey, this is a really good live rock band, so let's put out a concert video. You know, it's kind of a no-brainer, but, you know, when your people at the label just didn't have the brain for that thought, then you don't do it.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're at the helm of whatever the label says is how it goes. I mean, that's the sad reality of it. But
and I mean, I got to think that still a little bit ties back to, damn, we can do a video on this now, right? Yeah. Where in those days it just wasn't a thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if we all lived closer, there would be a lot more of that. So like right now, we only have that. So I'm really glad that we did that, because we didn't know how many shows that we would be doing. So we're like, well, we should get the feed from all of the audio, and we should have at least 3 or 4 cameras capturing this show, because we didn't know how good it would be. Or bad, and we didn't know how many shots we would have, you know, at more shows down the road. So we were able to capture that and take it in and mix it down, edit the footage, and, you know, thankfully put out something that a lot of people are saying sounds really good. So I'm really excited that we were able to do that.
Yeah, I've seen little snippets off of it, and what I've seen is like you said, very good quality and sounds superb.
So, Gene, I'll ask this. Here's my interruption again. Okay, I promise not to do many. Is that something that you're willing? I mean, we'd love to share some love with you. I mean, I wouldn't mind having, especially if I could get something signed. That's really cool with this stage, because I'm a nerd collector too, right? Not like these guys aren't. But is that something that you would be willing to, you know, tag in the Facebook or the YouTube feeds, or where subscribers could get access to it?
Access to what? The live album?
Yeah, your live album. I mean, personally, I'd love to get my hands on a signed Cool from the Wire, if that's an option. I mean, I could probably find one on Amazon or somewhere, but I'd much rather have one signed. But whatever it is, I mean, at the end of the day, we want to support you.
If you come to one of our shows, the one thing that we do is we will not leave until everyone's everything is signed. So, I mean, like the last show, we were, I mean, they didn't even take my drums off the stage, and I didn't leave the merch booth, and they were like screaming at me from the stage to like coming, because somebody said that I didn't want anyone touching my drums, which is a complete lie. And so like I didn't leave the merch booth to go deal with my drum kit until like I just made sure I signed everything. But we have a website. It's dirtylooksmusic.com, and we have a Facebook page. I think it's Dirty Looks Fans Official, and you can go to my Facebook page too. I suck at the Facebook, but you know, but I do get back to people. I would definitely like to be doing that more at some point. But yeah, I mean, I think everybody in the band has their own Facebook page, and so hit us up there. You can hit me up there, and I'm pretty sure our website you can message as well. Some people were hitting us up there to try and book us. So if you're a promoter and you want to set a show, get in touch with us. So yeah, hook us up or look us up on our website, dirtylooksmusic.com, and all of our Facebook pages, or, you know, we need to get better at our Instagram page. But right now, just, you know, Facebook is mostly where most of us are, as much as we can tolerate.
And a lot of people do Facebook, so it's more convenient for, I guess, for a lot of people anyway. So
right.
We have a question for you from Facebook user. Who's the biggest act y'all toured with, or you toured with?
Kiss.
Wow, that's awesome.
Easy enough.
That's another kind of about being in Dirty Looks is we didn't do a lot of tours with people. So like we put out Cool from the Wire and we did our own tour, and then we had some shows with Kiss. And the funny thing about, to get off track a little bit, the funny thing about Cool from the Wire, the first 3 shows of the Cool from the Wire tour were opened by Skid Row.
Wow.
People. And so that was a lot of fun because they were, let's just say I had a lot of fun hanging out with those guys. But touring, we didn't tour with anybody. Like, I'm sure we did play some shows with some other bands. We did not tour with other bands. So Kiss was the biggest. And then when Turn of the Screw came around, our management company was hard to handle, who managed AC/DC. So at that point, I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be great. We're going to go on tour with AC/DC. And so remember earlier when I said I was all puppies and unicorns? The time where we got this amazingly super big management company that had AC/DC and a bunch of other big bands. And so we thought, okay, you tick off all the boxes and you think you're doing all the right things and you're going up the rungs and you're getting closer and closer to where you're supposed to be. So right now we have this great management company. So we're going to be all over the place. And who cares what else we do? We're going to tour with AC/DC. And that never happened. And so ultimately they destroyed the band. So yeah, we did some shows with some good bands, but no tours. And that was really disappointing. And we didn't do a lot of festivals either. And so you chalk it all up to, if you don't have good management, then you're not going to get to do a lot of that cool stuff. And so because we started off having good management with the guy that got us to Atlantic, and then we kind of he unceremoniously got bumped off for the superstar AC/DC management company that just basically didn't do anything for us. Wah, wah.
Yeah, unfortunately that's the record business back then, and you kind of at the helms of whatever they think, and like you said though,
aspect of it was good. Atlantic Records was good. They really liked the band, and the people that worked there for the band really liked the band. Management fucked it all up, to be perfectly blunt, 100% honest. The label loved us. Management, they had different plans, and those plans did not work out, unfortunately.
So was there any overseas shows played? Were you able to go overseas and play some stuff over there?
No, we just did Canada and Mexico. That's as far as I got with Dirty Looks. And I don't know if they did after. I would imagine it would be probably hard for them to go overseas after when you don't have major label tour support.
Yeah.
So for me, no, I didn't get to go overseas with those guys.
How did it go about that y'all ended up making the Johnny Be Good soundtrack?
That was Atlantic Records. They were in charge of the soundtrack, and they just threw our song into it because we were on Atlantic Records, and they had the soundtrack. And it was at the time, I think Kix got a song into it, and so yeah, we luckily got a song tossed on there as well.
Yeah, I think Judas Priest had a song on there too.
Yep, they sure did.
Yep. So go ahead, Wes. All right.
So I see on the Dirty Looks music website right now, I'm looking at tour dates. I see the Monster, I think it was Monsters Rock or a cruise of some sort coming up.
Yes,
Do you have anything else? It sounds like you're in Maryland. Is that correct? Is that where you live now?
I am in Maryland. Mm-hmm.
So we're not terribly far from you. Gosh, some friends of ours saw you guys in PA not long ago, and I had no idea. I feel like a heel that I wasn't there to see that.
Well, you have to come to the next one.
Do you know what it is?
It's probably going to be around the same time next summer.
Gotcha.
So when we do shows, we have to get at least a couple of them because we have guys all over. And so it's pretty expensive to pull all of us in with flights and hotels. And so if you know any festivals in Virginia around you guys that we might be able to take part in, let's definitely keep in touch and talk about that. Because I would ideally, I would like to have a Baltimore show, a Pennsylvania show, a Virginia show, possibly like maybe Jersey or New York. I'd like to throw all our shit in a van and just go nuts for a month.
Has anybody ever approached you about the M3 festival?
We're on the radar. So hopefully
that's right up there with that same style of stuff. So,
and y'all would do good on that show because that's your area fans.
That and we're new to it. You know, like a lot of the bands that play M3 have played and played and played and played and played M3. And so anytime you can get a band that the fans have not seen, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So, but we're kind of like the new kids on the block right now. Like we're a new shiny old stock. That, so people have this lineup, and so people are pretty excited about it, and I'm getting a lot of grief from a lot of people that we're not playing more, and so it's not on me. I would play it every day of the week. But it's like I said, it's expensive to bring everybody in, and I mean, I'm a single dad, so I've got I can't go and do a van tour for no money. We're not making a lot of money doing this, that's for sure. But there is a certain benchmark that we absolutely have to hit, because we're not going to go in debt to play Dirty Look shows.
Yeah.
At least I'm not. I can't, because I've got a college fund that I've got to put money into, and but it's like now we're on the radar of some of the bigger promoters that do the bigger festivals, and so I'm looking at certain venues around the festivals, but then you've got like clauses for if you do this festival and you can't play a certain radius. So that takes away some of the, okay, so if we're going to do a festival in New York, then we'll do a show in Jersey. But if that's 90 miles or closer, then you can't do that. And that kind of sucks. And because, then I can't put my booking agent hat on, do a string of shows around a couple of festivals. But we're working on it, so we want to do more shows. Because it kind of sucks when you get I told you to look me up on Facebook and stuff like that, but most of the stuff that I get is, why aren't you playing here and why aren't you playing there, and you guys used to play here all the time, and it'd be great if there's a manager out there that wants to throw a bunch of money into us and put us on tour, then you can possibly do that. But at the same time, Jason and Paul are in Dangerous Toys, and so they play some of these festivals, and so hopefully maybe they won't do the next M3 festival, and Dirty Looks can do it. So
that'd be awesome by me.
Yeah, and me too. So all the people, starting with you three guys, you start hounding the promoters, then have at it. Tell them.
We can
book Dirty
we can
Looks.
certainly do that. We will
Yeah.
certainly do that. Yeah, and that you mentioned that M3 gets a lot of the repeat bands, and that's one of my biggest gripes. It seems like Hopper and I have been there, I don't know, the last 4 or 5 years, and it seems like you see the same bands over and over and over. You get a handful of fresh bands that you haven't seen before, or, they may have played 4 or 5 years ago, and it's the first time again. But you do see a lot of these that's played the previous year, the 2 years before, and it really sucked because we were so anxious and excited to go see not Dirty but Dangerous Toys one year, and we got held up in traffic, and we got there right after they were done, and the next band was starting. So, I mean, we had the opportunity to see them, and that was one of the biggest bands of the whole weekend that I really wanted to see, and it went to shit, and I didn't get to see that. But
yeah, luckily, I'm sorry you didn't make it.
Yeah, but it is what it is. It happens. So.
I guess we're now, since we're talking about y'all playing recently, how did this all come about?
As far as Jason.
Yeah.
Well, Jason, how the show came about was there's a promoter in Pennsylvania that he was on us for maybe about a decade. To do a show in Selinsgrove, because Selinsgrove is like the band's hometown. That's where we were stationed out of. Like when I first joined the band, I think I first joined around like late '86, and so Jack lived in Selinsgrove, and that was like home base. And so a promoter there was just hounding us. So we were supposed to play there when Henrik was alive. We were actually close to playing M3 when Henrik was alive, and of course he died and fucked that up. So that was really depressing, because we were all kind of psyched and looking forward to doing that. And so after Henrik passed, I had kind of given up on it, because I mean, Henrik is the voice of Dirty Looks, and so I'm one of those purist kind of people. Like, I'm not like, if I loved your band when I was 18 and you're playing now and you only have like one original member, I will absolutely not go see that band, because seeing a band like that takes away like all the good memories that I have in my brain of like seeing you at your zenith. And so I was just kind of like out. I'm like, nope, no Dirty Looks. It's not going to happen now. We don't have Henrik. And but then like a thought kind of popped into my head, like, well, what if, because Henrik has 2 kids, and I'm like, well, what if one of Henrik's kids got Henrik's voice? And so then I was like, okay, well, if one of Henrik's kids has Henrik's voice, I will play with that kid, because that would be insane. Mm-hmm. And but then the other kid would have to play guitar. But I have to do both. But unfortunately, Henrik's wife said that the kids did not inherit the voice and the guitar, because Henrik's a great guitar player too. So you can't have Dirty Looks without Henrik's voice and Henrik's rhythm guitar, because he kind of held down the Malcolm Young position in the band. And that was something that I really locked into, him and Jack. But Henrik's guitar playing was also very underrated. So that should change. But so then no Henrik kids, and Paul emailed one day saying, and so we still had the promoter going, hey, I really want you guys to do a show. And, but I was mainly like, fuck off. How? I mean, how we can do that? And so Paul called up and said, hey, Jason expressed interest in singing. And so I was like, what? And because I kept hearing Dangerous Toys, and I was trying to put them both together. And I'm like, I don't think that's going to work. Like Jason has a Jason voice. And then Dirty Looks has to have you know, I mean, everybody wants to hear the Henrik voice, and is that gonna work? And so at first I was like, nah. But then, you know, Paul was kind of like wearing me down a little bit, and so I said, okay, let's get together and see how it sounds. And so we flew to Austin, and we rehearsed at a really nice studio, rehearsal studio there, and so after the first song, and Jason started singing, my attitude had shifted. I'm like, oh, okay, I like this, and this guy will actually work, you know, because he didn't doesn't sound like Henrik, but it doesn't sound like Dangerous Toys Jason either. He came into it kind of really honoring the music, and because he liked the band, so he was actually a fan of the band, and so he does a really good job, and he did a really good job. He totally won me over immediately. You know, once he started singing, and then we had to get another guitar player. So I went in there ready to if that other guitar player just was not good, we were done. And fortunately, he came in. David Beeson came in to the rehearsals very well prepared, and he nailed his parts. And so I was quite happy. Which, you know, me and Dirty Looks, those things were not really synonymous. And so it was really it was a really cool thing. So I'm sitting there, we're going through the songs, and they sounded good and they felt good. And Jack, Paul, and it felt like we had never ever stopped playing for a second. I mean, immediately we just locked right into each other, and so I was wondering about that too, but I wasn't worried about, like, I could play the songs in my sleep, and I was kind of hoping that everybody else could too, and they came together really quick. Like it was almost like we just, you know, we put our Dirty Look selves in a closet for, I don't want to say how many years, and then we took ourselves out and like got on our gear and just like boom, there it is, just like it was. And so
that sounds good. I mean, even the stuff I've heard, what we call fan cams, the cell phone footage. I mean, even that stuff sounds unbelievable.
Yeah, we actually used some people's cell phone footage in our actual DVD, because it's like midway through the show, a couple of the pro cameras went down, and my drum camera went down, and so like when pro cameras go down, well, that really sucks. So we had to supplement that downtime with the footage, and that's another thing. Like, so I had a lot of criteria. I had a notebook for those rehearsals, and I had a page of like serious like criteria that had to be met, and if we didn't hit that, I wasn't going to allow the band to go on stage, because I didn't want to. Because okay, I'm sure you guys had seen like a lot of bands that, like the bands I was talking about before, there's like one original member, and some bands there's not even an original member, and they're just going around doing shows. And so I've seen enough of those to know that there was no way at all that I was going to be a part of something that just was not that good. So, I mean, Jack had to be Jack, Paul had to be Paul. If Paul didn't do his leads, then I wasn't gonna, I didn't want to hear it, because playing isn't just like, I don't need to play to make myself happy. I need to play to make sure fans are happy. So if I was a part of something that I was helping get to a stage, and we didn't deliver the goods for like the people that came to see us, we wouldn't have had show number 2, and we really wouldn't have had show number 1, because I mean, I listened to every single lead that Paul did during rehearsal, and like every song, I'm like, yeah, I would get really excited, because I'm like, he did the lead note for note, and I knew every note, because like I said earlier, I'm a fan of his leads on those albums because they're good. And so for me, I put myself in a fan perspective because, like, what if I'm a guitar player in the crowd? You know, if I come to see Dirty Looks, I want to hear those leads. And, you know, so like I said earlier, I'm a frustrated guitar player. So I was a guitar fan in the crowd, and I wanted to hear those leads. And, like, happily, I did. And, you know, so then Jack's got to be Jack on stage. He's got to jump around and do his cool Jack stuff. And you know, so the biggest letdown for me with Dirty Looks is me, because I didn't have my long hair and I didn't do the goofy shit that I used to do. But I practiced really hard and I nailed all my drum parts. So I mean, so that stuff was out there. But the first show happily went off really well. I mean, I'm hypercritical of like anything that I do, and so I was hypercritical of the show, and if we sucked, you know, I was going to hear about it, and so I came off stage like really happy and like we pulled that shit off, and we pulled that shit off against like some pretty serious odds. Like if you go back to the start, when we were talking to Henrik around 2007 of doing this, it was obstacle after obstacle after obstacle, right up until the rainstorm that happened that wasn't forecasted, like right before our second band went on, and then rain happened, and then we had to, you know, pull the band off, tarp all of our stuff, and I yelled up at the sky at Henrik for a good minute or so, you know, saying, hey man, you know, we're doing this for these people and your legacy and all your songs, and you cannot piss on our parade right now. And, it stopped and we got to play and it was good and people were happy and we all had a really good time, and so mission accomplished.
So, Gene, I'm just thrilled with the way you explained that. My wife and I went to see the stadium tour, and as good of a show as Poison put on, I was pissed because CeCe nailed Eruption, but he fucked up every solo that he played of his own.
Wow.
Everyone. And people were like, oh, he's so good. No, he's not even playing the way he wrote it. And we didn't even stay for crew. It was in DC. They just massive tornadoes and all this crap came through, so it's locked. And I wasn't upset because, like you said, they were the original members. But man, I liked them in the '80s, and now it's just like Jaw with events and all this other nonsense. So I respect what you said. I'm not sure they're as concerned about the fans as you are.
Yeah, if I'd seen Poison and CeCe didn't play his own leads, I'd be very pissed. I mean, I've seen Motley Crue a number of times, and Vince Neil didn't sing a lot of his lyrics, and I was pissed. I'm like, look, man, you're just for a band, you've got one job, and everybody knows your lyrics. I know your fucking lyrics, and you're on stage in front of me forgetting them. You know, it's like, come on, you know,
Yeah.
and you have teleprompters and you're forgetting lyrics. You know, that makes me kind of mad.
Yeah.
One show, I saw Motley Crue once, and it was a festival. I forget which festival it was, but Tesla was there, and there was a bunch of other bands there, and I was sitting on stage on Nikki's side, and every time Vince fucked up, it was hilarious because Nikki looked right at me, and he's just like, he was shaking his head, and I'm doing that, and he's doing that, and it was irritating, but at least, you know, it was funny. And I mean, but like I said, I don't think that's funny to the crowd. I mean, if you're you know, as popular as you are, and you can't remember, like, why can't you remember your lyrics? You know, something you've been singing for the past, you know, 3 decades. You know, that's just horse shitty and jackassery, and I don't like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
Amen to that.
Yeah.
All of our stuff, and we get to play a little bit longer.
Yeah, I'm always about the show. We call it calling it in. if the show's not very good. I mean, and you could tell when you go. Some of them look like they're just going through the motions. Like, why even bother?
Right.
Yeah.
Check this Facebook, the Facebook comment. The person said Nikki said Vince's voice was like Robert Plant. I would if Nikki worked for me, I would drug test him every hour on the hour to see what in the hell is he ingesting still, because there's no way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I'm having a hard time deciphering that comment.
Yeah. Hey, who says you don't need drugs to have a good time, right?
Yeah.
Well, hey guys, y'all want to wrap this one up?
Yes, Gene, we appreciate. We've ran you over like an hour now, and it's been a pleasure. I mean, this was an awesome talk, and we definitely want to do some more talks in the future. So hopefully you're down with that. Hopefully we entertained you as much as you entertained us. And
cool. That was fun.
This was awesome.
Yeah, well, man, your stories are freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm always thinking like an hour is just nowhere close to enough to like get everything, because you like barely scratch the surface. And
that's why when we decided that's why we just shot for Cool for the Wire. We figured, we was going to miss out on that album. The complete part of that album. Still don't know if we got the complete part, but
yeah, this was just great in all aspects of everything. Just to get to talk to you and then see your side of things and get the stories. It just means a lot to us. So
cool. We'll come up with some more questions. We'll do it again.
Well, we've got some we wrote up for future use, so we'll have a lot more by the next time. So,
Gene, I'm going to end the feed with the closeout video, but if you've got 2 minutes to hang, we'll chat after I've got the live feed done.
Yeah, I was going to say, and try and find a place for us to play in Virginia.
We'll do.
That we will.
I'll call some stuff out when we kill the feed.
Cool.
So, here we go. See you guys soon.
Pop metal.